In the heart of Jerusalem, there stands a building that is sacred to over 2 billion people on this planet. It is called the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it is the third holiest site in all of Islam. First, there is Mecca, then Medina, and then Al-Aqsa. Muslims believe that it was from this very spot in the Al-Aqsa compound in Jerusalem that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. That is not a minor belief. That is a foundational pillar of Islamic faith. This is not just a building, it is a spiritual landmark, a direct connection between earth and the divine. For Muslims around the world, Al-Aqsa is not negotiable. It is not a political bargaining chip. It is sacred ground. But here is where it gets complicated. The Jewish faith holds that the Al-Aqsa Mosque sits directly on top of the site where the ancient Jewish temple once stood. The temple, the literal house of God, according to Jewish scripture. It was destroyed twice in history, and for thousands of years, religious Jews have prayed for its rebuilding. The construction of the third temple is, for many, a prophecy, a divine promise, a destiny, and here's the flashpoint. There are extremist religious groups in Israel who do not just pray for the third temple, they actively plan for it. And in order to build it, the Al-Aqsa Mosque would have to be demolished, torn down, removed from the site entirely. Now, let me be clear. This is not the position of all Jewish people. This is not the position of all Israelis. This is an extremist position, but it is an extremist position held by people who are increasingly gaining political influence. People who are currently sitting in government. People who have access to military power. And here's the game theory prediction. And this one is the hardest to say out loud. Yes, according to game theory analysis, the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be targeted. Now, I want you to sit with that for a moment because the implications are staggering. If the Al-Aqsa Mosque is destroyed, it would not just be a political crisis. It would be a civilizational earthquake. 2 billion Muslims from Indonesia to Morocco, from Turkey to Nigeria, from Pakistan to the streets of London and Detroit would feel a religious obligation to respond, not a political obligation, a religious one. This would not be a choice for many of them. It would be a duty, a sacred, non-negotiable, spiritual duty to defend one of the holiest sites in their faith. That is not a protest. That is not a diplomatic incident. That is the trigger for a global mobilization, the likes of which the modern world has never seen. And that is why this third question is the most dangerous of all, because it is not driven by politics. It is not driven by economics. It is driven by something far more powerful, faith. You can negotiate with politicians. You can reason with generals, but you cannot negotiate with someone who believes God is telling them to act. This is the third domino. And if it falls, everything else falls with it.